What's up, boys? It's been a while. We're gonna start off with the tier list today. To change it up, you know. Drinking tier list. I gotta have the drunk hat on. We're gonna do a cocktail list, man. Yes, I do indeed work at a bar. That I'm very qualified. Some might even say the most qualified person to do this tier list. But yeah, no, I think it should be fun. I have the cocktail recipe list also on my side, so in case I forget what cocktail is what / what's in it. Yeah, International Bartender of the Year, definitely, right? Doesn't know what the cocktails are made of. Let's get into it. I'm a big cocktail man. I love making cocktails. Working at a bar, a craft cocktail bar as well. My cocktail palette has increased by like tenfold, so I'm really excited to do this. To kick things off, what are you going to kick things off with? Let's start with the aviation. Now, aviation used to be a fairly niche cocktail, but it's one of the... Also, we're doing classic cocktails. Well, not even all classic cocktails, some of the classic cocktails, specifically classic cocktails that are recognized by the IBA, and the classic cocktails that are recognized by the IBA, which is the International Bartender Association, and that I have also drank, because I don't really think it's fair for me to rank a cocktail that I've never drank before. As you will see in this tier list, cocktails can sound disgusting, but taste amazing. So let's start off with that, all right? Okay, all right, let's start with aviation. So aviation, very unique cocktail, one of the few cocktails that I know that uses something called a violet liqueur. Basically, they take violet flowers and they make liqueur out of it. I've tasted aviations, and I've tasted the violet liqueur on its own, and it is nothing that you can imagine what it tastes like. Sorry, no, not violet liqueur, it's called creme de violette. So it's gin, creme de violette, maraschino liquor. Also, there's aviation number 1 and number 2. So one's made with violet liqueur, whereas one is made with creme de violette. The main reason for that is because creme de violette can be incredibly hard to find sometimes, because very specific distilleries make it. And I think it comes from France, but I'm not sure. If you can find it, I think it's worth it. Now, in terms of a tier list, I happen to like aviations. I think they're a great cocktail. It's made with gin, and gin is one of my favorite liquors as well. So it's definitely pretty high up on the list. The BT is average, right? It's definitely above average, but I would put it at a low A. I think as the list goes on, you guys will see that it goes lower and lower. Next, we have the Sazerac. Now, the Sazerac is widely regarded as the first cocktail to be ever made. At least that's what Google tells me. And it's made with Peychaud bitters. Peychaud bitters is just a bitter brand. It's like Angostura bitters, because Angostura is also just a brand, right? Sazerac specifically made with Peychauds. Made in New Orleans, and it is traditionally made with cognac, although you can also make it with whiskey. Yeah, and it's all right. Cognac's not one of my favorite liquors. It's distilled with grapes. It specifically comes from France. I'm not that fond of cognacs. I'm more of a whiskey person. And Sazerac is a cocktail as well. The flavor profile doesn't really fit with me. I find it a bit too on the smoky side. Of course, that can depend on the cognac as well. As a bitters, I personally prefer Angostura bitters or Peychaud bitters. So personally, a C tier for me. Now, the Clover Club. Clover Club is a really unique cocktail because it is one of the few classic cocktails that mixes gin with egg whites. Now, you might say, like, what the fuck? Why are you using egg whites in a drink? What's happening? But if you have, like, one of my favorite cocktails of all time is the whiskey sour, and the whiskey sour uses egg whites, and it tastes nothing like eggy. Any kind of sour, because a Clover Club is technically a sour. It's made with gin, raspberry, and egg whites as the 3 main ingredients. And I think there's a bit of citrus thrown in there as well. And it tastes delicious. It really does. I am a sucker for gin, but it does taste super good. Yeah, overall, just a really good drink, man. It really is. The raspberry complements the gin super well. It's nice. It's got nice sweetness to it. Got a citrus kick from the behind, and the egg white just adds a really silky texture. Definitely an S tier cocktail for me. let's do the martini. Let's do the martini. Okay, so here's the thing about the martini. I used to be a big fan of it when I was coming into cocktails, but that was primarily because of James Bond. Also, if you didn't know this, shaken not stirred is a complete lie. I like to shake my vodka martini specifically because I don't like the taste of vodka, and the extra dilution can help. But if I'm making my martini with gin, I never shake it. I really want to taste the botanicals of the gin. Otherwise, you're just wasting 2 shots of gin, right? The award-winning recipe, and the recipe you'll probably see most commonly referred to in an online video, especially by videos by Esquire, they really like to use this recipe, is 4 shots of gin into half a shot of vermouth. And the way you make it is that you take the martini glass, chill it out, and you pour the half the shot of vermouth in, and then just line the side, roll the martini glass around and line the sides of it. Then you dump the vermouth out, you stir the gin in with ice and pour that gin into the martini glass. I like gin. I don't like gin that much. The only martini I would drink on purpose, or like I would actively seek out to drink, is like a dirty, sloppy martini. So by a dirty martini, what I mean is they use olive brine juice, then they mix it up with that, and that has value. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, olive brine juice tastes like seawater. I personally feel that it adds a nice saltiness, savory, umami flavor to the martini, which I really enjoy. Dirty martinis are not in the IBA classic unforgettables list. Dry martini is. Super dry martini is basically a shot of gin. And that is DTR. I do like the olive at the end, though. A good olive can make or break the martini, so there is that. Let's do the Manhattan. A super easy recipe to remember. 2-1-2. So 2 shots of whiskey, preferably a Kentucky bourbon. If it's not a bourbon, it's not a Manhattan. So with the Manhattan, the history of the drink is that it was made in the iconic Manhattan bar in New York City, Manhattan. And of course, and they obviously claim to have been, it's probably a marketing ploy. As is with most cocktails, the origin of the drink is super unknown. And nobody really knows what's going on with each cocktail because nobody really cares about it that much, or like nobody cared about it enough back then to document where it came from. But the Manhattan story I think is cool. It also happens to be that the 212 recipe mnemonic is also the area code for Manhattan, so that's super cool. So the way the recipe goes: 2 shots of whiskey, 1 shot of vermouth, and 2 dashes of bitters. If you like whiskey, you'll like this drink. If you don't like whiskey, you won't like this drink. I love whiskey. I love a good bourbon. So for me, it would probably be in a high A tier. It's a bit basic in terms of flavor profile, and for other people can be super polarizing because it's usually a fairly smoky drink. I would never recommend people to buy a Manhattan as their first drink out unless they know what they're doing, or unless they already know that they really like whiskey. Cool. All right, let's do the gin fizz. So we'll talk about two types of gin fizzes. Firstly, the standard gin fizz, then we'll talk about Ramos gin fizz. So gin fizz is made with gin, lemon juice, and sugar, shaken with ice, poured in a tumbler, and topped up with carbonated water. I prefer the Ramos gin fizz to the classic gin fizz, and that's mainly because like it's really basic. It's like a version of daiquiri. Daiquiris are made with rum, lemon juice, and sugar. It's basically that topped with carbonated water. It's sweet and sour gin mixed with carbonated water. That's all it is, and it's okay. It's all right. I think the gin fizz, the classic gin fizz, is the definition of average. So it's B tier. I will have it. If someone, I might even order it if I'm feeling like it, but I would never actively seek it out. I really wouldn't. Now, the Ramos Fizz is widely regarded between bartenders to be one of the most labor-intensive hard drinks to make on planet Earth. So the Ramos Gin Fizz generally has to be shaken for a very long time because you essentially want to create a meringue out of it on top of it. And the way you know you've made a good Ramos Gin Fizz is by poking a straw in the absolute center of it, and the straw just stays still. That's meant to be the sign of a good bartender. And to get that meringue out, it takes so much effort. I haven't personally ever had to make one at the bar. I have made one at home, and I had to shake it for like I shaked it for like 10 minutes to get the meringue going. So the story goes is that the guy, Ramos, was the guy who actually created the gin fizz, and he would hire like 10 little kids because labor laws didn't exist back in the day, and each kid would shake it for 1 minute each. And he would pay like whatever the equivalent of $1 was back then to each kid for shaking that drink, and that's how they would produce one. That's how they would produce one Ramos Gin Fizz, right? So super labor intensive drink. I'm very glad I've had to never make it at service, especially during a busy schedule. And please don't order this on a Friday night. Please. It will fuck up service really badly for us. So I would not recommend it. But as a cocktail, S tier. I really like this drink. I think the meringue is so unique. It's got a good story to it, and I love a good story behind anything I eat or drink. So 100% S tier cocktail for me. I think this one's the last word. Let me just double check that. Yeah, I'm a great bartender, guys. Trust me. Come to my bar. Yeah, this is the last word. Cool. Last word. Very unique drink. One of the few drinks that I have tasted that uses a liqueur called chartreuse. Chartreuse is a liqueur made by French monks, and it's something super unique. It's a gin-based cocktail as well, and it was created in the 1920s Prohibition, which didn't really work because people drank all the fucking time back in 1920s. If Great Gatsby is anything to go by, I think it has one of the most unique flavor profiles. Last word apparently is a very bartender drink. Like bartenders like to order it. I like to order it. Not a bartender, but I do like to order it a lot. So the recipe is 1 part gin, 1 part green chartreuse, and apparently made in the Detroit Athletic Club. Yeah, and also using maraschino liquor. Maraschino liquor is the same, is a cherry liqueur. It's clear, surprisingly, but it's really, really good. And all these things combined, it sounds really weird, and especially if chartreuse on its own should never be had as a shot. It's one of the worst shots you can have. There's this game called Chartreuse Face between bartenders, where they just take a shot of chartreuse, and whoever doesn't swallow the shots or spit out the shot for the longest time wins. Yeah, it's not a very pleasant thing to have on its own, but combined with all these other things makes a really good cocktail. So it's above average, but it's also, I feel like it's bottom A tier. So yeah, I'll put it as bottom A tier. It's good, but it's not the best. You feel? Which one's the Bouvier? That one's the Bouvier, right? I should have really labeled these, shouldn't I? I forget the garnishes. That's why it's hard to tell when it's like looks that similar. Cool, that's the Martinez. Lovely. Okay, so Martinez, the cocktail. Made with, again, a gin-based cocktail. Gin, sweet vermouth, Luxardo, liqueur, and Angostura bitters, garnished with an orange twist. The Martinez sounds very similar to Martini because they're very closely related. But I think the Martinez came first, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, and again, Luxardo maraschino liquor is one of my favorite liqueurs of all time. I think it tastes delicious, especially when combined with gin. It's a classic, very widely regarded as a great cocktail, and it's probably higher than aviation for me as well. Like, okay, my bias towards these kind of cocktails is showing, but I do like liquor forward cocktails more than liquor behind cocktails. Liquor forward means just like it has a high alcohol ratio. I promise that's not because I just want to get drunk. Oh, I wish I could have a cocktail right now, man. I'm really vibing a cocktail right now, like a good old fashioned. Oh yeah. Speaking of old fashions, what a segue, right? So, well, the way you make an old fashioned is it uses a technique called muddling. So you take a sugar cube, take an orange peel, and then you muddle it up and get the essential oils from the orange peel out. And because of that, I'm pretty sure this is the old fashioned that I'm looking at right now. And then you just add whiskey to it, and that's a fucking cocktail. It tastes pretty good. I like old fashions. Again, I'm a big whiskey dude, and it's like for me it's right below the Manhattan. Great drink. I would recommend it if you do like whiskey. On a similar note, but not so similar note, but slightly similar note, is the Negroni. Negronis is 2 parts gin, 1 part Campari, and 2 parts sweet vermouth. Yeah, cool. Campari is a Amaro. Yeah, Amaros are a type of I want to say liqueur. That liqueur is probably what makes most sense. Really no way to describe Campari, really, other than actually trying it. It's got botanical flavors to it. Negroni, decent drink, above average. It's not what I usually go with, but if I'm in the gin mood and not a whiskey mood, I will do that. Oh, didn't fuck up the... Oh, shit. Alright, that's the wrong one. That's the one I'm talking about. That's the one that was C tier. This one's a Bouvier. Is that a Vieux Carré? No, that's the Sazerac? What the fuck? Oh, that's the Vieux Carré. That's the Sazerac. Holy shit. Okay, I'm really fucking shit up, aren't I? Okay, hold up. Okay, that's the old fashioned. The Sazerac. Which one? Where the fuck was the Sazerac? Sazerac was here. Lovely. Cool. We'll do sidecar. Sidecar's with brandy. Unique cocktail. Well, a few cocktails made with brandy that I've tasted. Because sourcing brandy is hard, and good brandy can be very expensive. So I don't like brandies that much. Brandies and cognacs, for me, sit in a very similar family. And I'm pretty sure B was that is 100% Negroni. That can't not be a Negroni, right? Yeah, alright. Coming back to sidecar. D tier, man. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of these like wine-based because I'm not the biggest fan of wine in the first place. So yeah, not great. Wouldn't recommend. I mean, if you like brandy, go for it. That's the thing with cocktails, right? It's so subjective. But for me, D tier. All right. That, if I'm not wrong, is daiquiri. Pretty sure. Oh no. Oh fuck. The fuck. Lol. They look too similar. That's the last word. That's the green chartreuse. That's the daiquiri. Now, daiquiri, super simple cocktail to make. Shaken cocktail made with sugar, lemon, and rum. Super simple cocktail. That's what pirates used to have. And it's fucking good. It's simple, but it works. I would have it over the aviation. No, actually. No. I'll have it over the last word, but I wouldn't have it over the aviation. Okay, whiskey sour. My favorite cocktail of all time. It's the first cocktail I had that had egg whites in it. It had whiskey in it. It was nice, silky smooth, lovely to drink. I would 100% recommend it to anyone. It tastes nothing like you think it'll taste. Because it uses egg white, people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to have it. But honestly, it is one of the best cocktails to ever have. The egg whites gives it such a nice, silky, smooth texture. And then you get the smokiness of a good whiskey on it from behind. It's lovely. It sneaks up on you. Suddenly you've had like 30 of these and you're out and about in the middle of the city of Sydney. Not that I've ever done that. Let's go to the Vieux Carré. What the fuck's in the Vieux Carré? I've forgotten. It's a weird combination, the Vieux Carré. So the Vieux Carré has... it's super boozy. It has a rye whiskey, cognac, sweet vermouth, Benedictine, and Peychaud's bitters. It was super boozy, if I remember correctly, yeah. Even though I don't like cognac, the rye whiskey really helps with that. And it's a really good, it's odd but really good pairing. I'll put it high A tier. No, old-fashioned with that one. Bouvier. So Bouvier, whiskey instead of gin. Take a Negroni's recipe, replace the whiskey with gin, and there you have the Bouvier, right? The Bouvier tastes better than Negroni for me. So definitely higher than a B tier. But I think it makes it way into A, honestly. My palate's very whiskey heavy. I love a good whiskey. A lot of cocktails on the A tier, hey. Yeah, there are very few cocktails I actually really dislike. Even the D tier cocktails, I would have it on depending on what mood. But yeah, that's probably my list, man. It really probably is my list. It's good shit. I think it's a good list. Save that shit. Fuck yeah. What a list, eh? Thank you so much for watching that video. If you want to see more of my videos, you can click right over there. If you want to subscribe to my channel because you like this video so much, you can click right over there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Big love from the big man.